The Anderson Valley is a beautiful area in Mendocino County located right along the drive between Santa Rosa and the Mendocino coast. It's about 2 hours drive from the Bay Area and it's a blossoming wine country that's a fantastic spot for a relaxing weekend. For this video, we partnered with Maggy, a fun winery in the Anderson Valley, to spend a couple days exploring this stunning part of the state. Here's all the information on how we spent a weekend there, and let me know what your favorite spot was in the comments. Let's jump into it. We left the Bay Area at 9:30 a.m. on a Friday and began the drive north along Highway 101. About an hour into the drive, we stopped in Santa Rosa to grab some coffee before continuing on.
Just got our coffee, now it's time to go drink some wine.
As you continue north, you'll get off on Highway 128 and head towards the Anderson Valley. From here, it's about 30 minutes to the town of Boonville, and along the way, it's beautiful and windy. We took this drive in the middle of September, and there was even a little bit of fall color starting. I bet it'd be pretty amazing in a few weeks.
We made it to the Anderson Valley.
Under the sign, you'll see some Boontling words, which is the local language that was created in the 1890s and is only spoken in the Anderson Valley. More on that later. We headed through Boonville and towards the town of Philo for our first stop at Maggy Winery. Maggy has been making wine in this region since 2007, but their tasting room just opened in the spring of 2022. Before spending some time at the tasting room, we went out to explore one of Maggy vineyards. This vineyard was located about 15 minutes away in what the locals call the deep end of the valley, where the coastal fog and cool climate are perfect for growing grapes. It was about a week before the grapes were going to be picked, so it was awesome to be able to walk through the vines and then to find a spot to eat. Have you seen a better spot for lunch than this? This is our lunch spot today. So, Amy brought 5 wine bottles to lunch. I don't know what kind of party she thinks this is.
You know what? She's a mom with no children right now.
We tried a few of the wines as we ate sandwiches from one of the local stores. This vineyard tour is not something that they currently offer, but it's something that they're hoping to offer in the future, so check their website for updates if you want to do it. Like my crazy hair from the wind, I love that old barn. It's so cool for photography. We just wanted to go out here to be able to experience the vineyard and to learn about its connection to the Anderson Valley. This vineyard was planted in 2000 and it has 58 acres of Pinot Noir grapes. Due to the cool climate, Pinot Noir is the main grape that's grown in the valley, but there are some Chardonnay and some other varietals that are grown here as well. On the way back to the tasting room, we stopped at another local favorite, the Bewildered Pig. Something you'll quickly note about the Anderson Valley is how many amazing restaurants and markets they have in such a small area. The market here has a ton of unique things to purchase, ranging from local beers and wines to all sorts of mushroom-related items. Found Amy's favorite place.
This is pretty exciting. I just want to buy it all.
They also make a candy cap mushroom cappuccino, and I figured I had to experience that. This is a mushroom cappuccino. Amy's gonna give it a try.
Ooh, I like that.
Taste the mushrooms or no?
It's just earthy tasting. Like I wish I had a sweater on right now and could sit in a corner.
You know we're always looking for unique places when we travel, so this place with their candy cap mushroom cookies, plant-based cheese, and all sorts of other stuff was definitely right on our list. This place is incredibly cool. Lots of interesting things to buy and to try there. I would love to come for lunch. Let me know if you do in the comments, but we are heading on. From there, it was back to Maggy Winery so we could have an official tasting. They make 4 different Pinot Noirs here, focusing on different clones of the Pinot Noir grape and different blocks of the vineyard. When you're tasting it, you can experience the subtle differences from growing the grapes in different areas of the vineyard with different soils and different ways the climate interacts with the grapes. Amy and I are by no means professional wine tasters, but we've drank enough wine to understand what we like and we really enjoyed the wine here. The menu also has some of that Boontling language I was telling you about at the bottom, which says Balhornen, which means good drinking.
Just drop this off at the end of wine tasting. Ooh, my favorite. French macaroon. Not a bad way to end wine tasting.
We got some time to kill before dinner. We're gonna play a little bit of bocce if I can get Amy off of the chair.
Maybe I'll just watch you do it. Do a few rounds first.
Pretty sweet spot though. Bocce ball, awesome tasting area, and there's basically no one here with us today, so it's really nice. Amy's never played before and she's actually pretty good at this game.
I've won twice so far.
What the heck? On the last throw. Amy's found her call like it's playing bocce ball apparently. I think we're done with this game. We're gonna go get dinner. After leaving Maggy Hawk, we headed into the town of Philo and Lemon's Market. Before heading to our hotel, we're at the Lemon Market to get a book on the Bootling, which is the language that was spoken here since the 1890s. If you're interested in the language, we were told this is the best place to pick up the book about it. All right, so we got our book on Bootling, the American lingo. Amy's gonna give us a few words.
So if you saw a cow, you wouldn't say cow, you'd say that was a dinklehunk. And then if you had high pockets, it meant you were quite tall.
So if I was walking around, they'd say, hey, look at high pockets over there.
High pockets.
Have you seen a dinklehunk today? From there, we made the short drive back to Boonville to check into the Boonville Hotel, which would be our home base for the next 2 days. The Boonville Hotel was built in the late 1800s and it's a historic spot right in the center of town. Checking into our hotel, the Boonville Hotel, and we are room number 3. Oh, there we are, right there. The hotel has about a dozen rooms in the main building, and then there's separate buildings which each have their own rooms around the property. The highlight of the hotel though is all the communal space that they have. There's an awesome lobby area you can hang out at on the first floor. Plus there's all sorts of seating that's used for the restaurant at breakfast or at dinner, and there's lots of outdoor seating as well. This is a beautiful property, and they even have their own garden back here where they grow some of the stuff that they use at the restaurant. Amie and I loved exploring the gardens, and it was awesome that there was so much seating and that you could just wander around, grab a seat, and even bring out your coffee in the mornings. All right, done exploring the garden. I'm going back to have something to eat. It's a prefix 5-course meal tonight, so it should be pretty awesome. Boonville Hotel is famous for their restaurant. The chef here, Perry Hoffman, was one of the youngest people ever to receive a Michelin star at a different restaurant that he worked at. We have the hotel cat Robin joining us for our dinner as well. Made Amy's night.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got sea urchin. Amie has never had sea urchin before.
Looking forward to that.
Cheers.
How do I get at it first? It's really good. Like everything on top is just so delicious that I couldn't tell you
That you're eating urchin?
like specifically about how many people think.
Our cat friend started to get up when he heard that we were eating sea urchin. We sat here for about an hour and a half just enjoying our dinner and watching the sunset. The property was so beautiful I kept leaving the table just to walk around. Trying to eat my dinner, but the sunset's too amazing and keep running over to the garden just to take some pictures. Amie and I never eat like this, so it was a treat to be able to have an hour and a half meal without the toddlers and just enjoy it. I do have to say that was a pricey meal, but wow, I enjoyed every course. It was incredible. That's the end of day 1 in the Anderson Valley. Morning day 2, I was just exploring the property a little bit while Amie got ready, but we have breakfast at the hotel and then we're going to a goat farm. Our friend from last night is sitting chilling waiting for somebody to give him some breakfast. Breakfast is a highlight of your stay here as it's included with the room cost, and it was fresh and delicious every morning. They switch off between homemade scones one morning and cheddar biscuits the next. Both are equally good. Leaving the Boonville Hotel for a day of hiking, food, and goat farms. The nice thing about staying in the Anderson Valley is that everything's close by. This farm was only about a 3-minute drive. We're heading into the Pennyroyal farm.
It's gonna be a highlight.
All the goats.
Goats and then goat cheese. It's awesome.
We arrived a little early and explored the property before it was time for our tour. These are some of the sheep and goats that they have. There's over 100 here, they say, and they've won a lot of awards. The tour here lasts about 45 minutes and it starts by checking out the gardens and the property before heading into the goat area. They only offer one tour per day, so if you want to do it, be sure to get your tickets in advance. Once the tour enters the barn, it's basically a goat lover's paradise. The goats here are incredibly friendly and they all come up to you and want to get pet. You move from one pen to the next, interacting with goats of different ages. The Penny Royale farm has had sheep for decades, but it wasn't until 2006 that they decided to start growing grapes to make wine, and they began to make cheese. The outside area was by far the best, as these goats were excited to see you and ran over to get pet. After we finished interacting with the goats, we headed back to the main building, learned more about the cheese making process, and then got to sit down to our own tasting. Our tour is over, so now it's time to try some wine and cheese. One of the highlights here was that at least when we went, the tour included a wine and cheese tasting that was complimentary at the end. You got to try 3 different types of wine and 4 different types of cheese. Amie and I both loved the cheese here. That was a really fun tour and it came with cheese and wine at the end, so how do you beat that? We're gonna get some food to have a little picnic and then to go hiking. Since our next stop was hiking, we decided we needed a little bit more food than just the cheese, so we headed over to the Disco Ranch. Disco Ranch is a much-loved store in the city of Boonville ran by the fantastic Wendy. Here she has many different small plates that you can purchase and lots of local wine. They have an awesome little area where you can sit right here, but we're gonna go to the Redwoods for our lunch.
Yeah.
Figure our picnic could use some apple juice, apple cider, whatever it is they have.
Why not?
Gowan's Oak Tree is a roadside stand that's been family run since the early 1900s. It's an awesome spot to stop at and to grab some local produce. We got a couple apples and we got an apple cider slushy, which is just their apple cider frozen.
I mean, how could that be bad?
Yeah?
Yeah.
10 out of 10?
Yep.
Probably should have waited till after I was hiking to eat this. From there is only 5 minutes drive to enter Hendy Woods State Park. After paying the fee to enter the park, you'll proceed all the way to the end of the road, which is where the main parking lot is at for all the trails. Here's the trail we're heading out on, but we are gonna find a place to picnic first. Pretty sure this is the fanciest meal I've ever had while hiking. We got smoked salmon, we got beets, we got duck sliders.
Pretty bougie for a state park hike.
After indulging in our amazing lunch, it was time to start the hike. All right, we're heading out on the Discovery Trail and the Upper Loop Trail, and then we're gonna go on the Hermit Hut Trail. Also, a quarter mile of this trail is accessible. Hendy Woods is an incredible place to see coastal redwoods, and we headed out on the Upper Loop Trail, which is about a 1.5 mile round trip. This is one of the biggest trees we've seen so far, and it looks like it's about to fall over. So at some point in time, this will probably crash down over there. This place is magical. Bigger trees than you'd see even in the Muir Woods area with no people. Definitely come here if you get the chance. Hendy Woods has been a state park since 1958, and it was named after Joshua Hendy, who owned it and helped to preserve it. There are over 80 acres of old-growth redwoods here. I will say there's not a lot of signs for the trails, so I recommend getting a map when you pay your entrance fee. Check out this massive downed redwood. And you can look right at the base too. After exploring the Upper Grove, we decided to head back and try to find the Hermit huts, which are an interesting part of the park's history. We went past the trail, had to go back and try to find it again, but I think we are on the Hermit Hut Trail now, and we're heading uphill. If you decide to do this trail, definitely have an all trails map, as it's pretty hard to find it. Once you find it though, it's an uphill, relatively straightforward hike to get to the first of the huts. We have found the first of the 2 huts.
Finally.
These huts were created by the Hendy hermit who lived here for over a decade. He had a few huts like this around the park that he would stay in. There's a board right next to the hut which has newspaper clippings and information on people who knew him and knew of him. Amy's so excited that we stopped drinking wine so that we could find a hut in the forest.
highlight of the week so far.
After seeing the first hut, we backtracked and looked for a single track trail that went off of the main trail and went up to the second hut. The second hut was made out of a downed redwood and it was only a couple feet tall, so I have to imagine it was basically just for sleeping. Saying goodbye to the huts, we're gonna hike back to the parking area and we're gonna go on to our next adventure in the Anderson Valley. As you're leaving the park, there's this really cool bridge and there's a short trail down to it and a little parking area, so we're gonna go see it. If you're following my YouTube, you know I love old bridges, and this one was from 1955. It's a little treacherous to get down to, but there's a rope. I was told that they're looking at updating this bridge, but it's still pretty cool to see if you're in the area. Also, I guess this is a really popular swimming hole in the summer, but there wasn't a lot of water there when we went. The bridge that we stopped at is right there, and right when you go across it, be sure to stop at the apple stand. I probably could have spent the entire day driving around to the area's farms and just trying all the different apples. This one's especially fun though, as it's honor system and you just write down what it is that you purchased and you put your cash in the drop box. Don't be like us though and be sure to bring cash. We don't have any cash, so we get to have a free piece of fruit, but be sure to bring cash if you come to this spot, it's awesome. On the way back, we saw a sign for Gowan cider and lots of people trying it, so we decided to get out and try it as well. They make 6 different ciders here, and the worker told us that they had been here for over 145 years. They grow all the apples for their cider on site at this farm. They even pulled out apple samples and we could try pieces of the apples while we were sampling the cider. You can do a full cider tasting and you can sit in the orchard and look at trees that are over 100 years old. Amy found a new love she didn't know she had.
I did not know that I liked hard apple cider, but we're going home with 2 bottles and can't wait to try more.
It's a fun spot to stop at.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Continuing our tour of the Anderson Valley, visiting the Historic Museum. I always enjoy learning about the history of the areas I visited, so I wanted to see this even though it's only open a couple hours per week on Saturday and Sunday. This was a tiny museum, but like I said, I always try to understand the history of the areas I'm visiting. Plus, I wanted to talk to them about the Boontling language, but they didn't speak any. I did find out that the author Jack London stayed at the hotel we were staying at in the early 1900s, which was pretty cool to learn. I feel like we've had a pretty full day exploring today, but we're gonna go back to Boonville, see some of the shops down there, maybe have dinner, not sure what else. It was only about a 7-minute drive back to Boonville, and we stopped in the downtown area where they have a couple shops. The Farmhouse Mercantile is definitely one you should see, as it sells lots of local arts and crafts. A couple doors down from that, there's a great coffee shop that sells coffee, ice cream, and other pastries. Since we were doing a full tour of the Anderson Valley area, we decided to check out the brewery, which a lot of people recommended to us. Live music and beer before we go to dinner. It's one of those days.
Yeah, packing it all in.
The Anderson Valley Brewing Company has a ton of great beers, but what's fun is the beer farm property that it sits on. It's over 30 acres and there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. Amy and I have already tried a lot of drinks today, so we got these tiny pours, we go listen to music and just hang out. Cheers. The musician playing here was Alex Dunn, and Amy and I both really enjoyed his music. I'll leave a link to his YouTube and check it out if you like that folk singer-songwriter style. They also have a disc golf course and a bunch of goats. What's not to love about a brewery with a goat pen? To finish our time in the Anderson Valley, we headed through Boonville towards Philo and to a place called the Madrones. The Madrones is located right across the street from Maggy Hawk and is the other popular place to stay while visiting the Anderson Valley. We went to visit a restaurant called Wixom, which has a cool open kitchen and they make everything with their wood fire grill. Normally when you see a wood fire grill, you think of pizza, but they didn't even have pizza on the dinner menu. They had all sorts of fun stuff like seafood and ribs, and it was a good dinner to end our time before heading back to the Boonville Hotel. Last night we had a fantastic sunset, but tonight the clouds are moving in for rain tomorrow. Still a pretty nice spot to have a little bit of coffee to end our trip though.
Can't complain.
That's it for our time in the Anderson Valley. Thanks to Maggie Hawk for encouraging us to come up here. You guys should definitely come spend some time in this area yourself. Let us know what your favorite part was in the comments, and we will see you on the next video.